You don't own your YouTube subscribers, your Instagram followers, or your TikTok audience. The platforms do. That's why I use email as a hedge against all these possible algorithm changes. And today, I'm going to talk specifically about Substack. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Pesto Comics. This is the entry for November 5th, 2025. Your social media followers do not belong to you. Welcome back. My name is Adriano. I'm a writer, publisher, crowdfunder of all things comics, and coming up, some novels and novellas as well. And you can find me all over social media at Pesto Comics. That's YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and TikTok. And of course, you can find me on Substack, which is what we'll be talking about today. Although I make myself available on all kinds of social media, I know that at the end of the day, if YouTube decides to make a change, or if Instagram decides to prioritize something else over Reels, or if TikTok is banned, I lose access to all of the followers I've been building on those platforms. So what's the difference with Substack? I get your email. I know who you are and that you actually want to hear from me. Unlike all these other platforms that rely on you tricking the algorithm and finding your way into people's feeds, I'm going to be in your inbox if you subscribe. I'm not reliant on an algorithm making sure that even though you might be subscribed to me, you may or may not see my latest post. It really depends on when you're looking at the feed and what you were looking at, and if they think it's relevant to you. It just shows up once I hit send in your inbox at the time that I send it. There's nothing like that out there with any social media that's algorithm based, which is all of them, really. So if you're looking for a guaranteed way to reach your audience, and these are the ones that have provided their email and they have told you, I am interested, I want to learn more, the only way to truly reach them is via email. It may seem outdated, especially when you're talking to the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas of the world, like who really uses email? But over time, you will quickly realize that people who are interested in supporting you are going to follow you via email because it's the one and only place that you can truly curate what you're seeing every day. Nothing is more frustrating than when Instagram, for instance, decides that it's now pay for play, where before you would subscribe to someone and you would see nearly everything they put up. Now, if you don't select to also be notified of every post, there's no guarantee you're going to see what they're putting up. It really depends on how much you watch their content and how often and for how long. So if I happen to put up a video that's a little more boring than others, maybe it's just not for that person that week, I may fall out of their algorithm entirely and they won't see anything I'm putting up. That's a scary prospect when one week I might be doing a deep dive for help with writers, and maybe if you're not a writer, you're just a comic book reader, you skip that one. And now when I have a campaign launching the following week, the algorithm decides that I am not content that you would like to consume. So the experience is taken entirely out of the user's hands and the creator's hands as well, unless I'm willing to pay for ads to make sure I get in front of them. It's an unfortunate truth when you do launch a campaign that you are going to be roped in to paying for those ads in order to reach people. That's really going to show the difference between having a mailing list and being on socials. If you want to succeed on socials, you do need to be willing to put money up in order to cut through the noise because that's how they've set them up. The algorithm isn't there to make sure that you spread your word. The algorithm is there, one, to feed users new content constantly, and two, to make sure that if you want to get your message out, you're willing to pay to do so. So if you create a newsletter, it's a totally different experience. You can collect emails from your most engaged fans and know that you will be reaching them. There are a few ways to do it, a few services available, some of which come with a cost, especially as your list grows. But the one I prefer to use and the one I've been using for the past couple of years is Substack. This is completely free to use, and it also offers some monetization options. So you may hear me every week talking about paid subscribers getting a little bit more than everyone else. As if you're watching this video right now on Substack, you know that after a certain point, I'm going to say goodbye. But if you stick around as a paid subscriber, there's even more that will go through on the other end of the cut. So it allows for other monetization options that you wouldn't have otherwise. But more importantly than that, and frankly, that's not the core end of my business. I use the paywall specifically as a way to make sure that my most engaged readers are there, and I share more with them than I do with anyone because there's a level of trust that's built. The fact that you're willing to pay the $30-some a year to be a subscriber means that I can trust you a little bit with some financial details and some behind the scenes information that I wouldn't share with just everyone on the internet. But if you're looking for it as a source of income, there are many people who've done that successfully. For me, my goal is to get people to read more of my comics and my novels and all of that. And the best way to do that is to bring them in as free subscribers. There's a way to do this on Kickstarter or any newsletter platform. And the most important thing, and the one thing that you'll see from me all the time, is consistency. I have a new post coming out every Wednesday about all different kinds of topics. I do stay within certain parameters of what I talk about. I don't just talk about anything and everything, though I do sometimes stray pretty far from the usual if I'm really feeling I need a change up. I had a recent post where I just talked about concerts I went to. It wasn't the best performing post, and I didn't expect it to be, but I wanted a change for my own sake. But realistically, if you're putting together posts, you should follow content pillars. You should know what types of posts you're going to do. For me, I have Kickstarter postmortems and launches. I have op-eds about the comic book industry and everything that's happening there. I have tips and tricks for both crowdfunders and writers on here every week. And I do con journals and vlogs and things talking about my experience out in the world as an indie comic creator. What you decide your content pillars are totally up to you. But the main thing is that you are consistent, that you show up, whether it's weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. But the key is that readers know when to expect more from you, and you maintain that schedule or communicate any changes as they may come. Out of sight, out of mind. If you decide to post every 3 months or twice a year, don't expect too much feedback, as people may have just forgotten that you exist, as they're not going to see that email in their inbox as frequently as they may think they would. So consistency is key. I've decided to go weekly. That was after a lot of experimentation. Even just recently, I cut the Saturday posts, as I was doing it 6 times a month with a post every Wednesday and another post every other Saturday. That just became a little bit too much to keep up with. So we're back to a weekly schedule. But at one point, I was going right up to daily. So you should really experiment, see what works for you and what you can maintain, which is the most important thing. Another thing you can do specifically with Substack is utilize Substack Notes. It's a really useful tool. It's kind of like a Twitter clone, but it's very focused on the Substack ecosystem. So if somebody's already in Substack, they already have an account, and then they see you in Notes, they make it very easy for them to subscribe to your newsletter. You will see a huge boost in the amount of followers and new readers that you get if you are relatively consistent on Substack Notes. This is more of a do as I say, not as I do kind of approach, as I'm not as active on Substack Notes as I should be. Part of that is just it doesn't have any scheduling features. If you're on Substack Notes, you're doing it all live. There are certain people like Jonathan Hedrick that are very active on Substack Notes and very friendly to repost and always boost everyone else on Substack and make sure that you're getting the best of everything that's happening in the comics realm on Substack in particular. So sometimes following someone like Jonathan will give you a lot of insight into what's working on Substack, and then go follow those people, see what's working and steal it. Do it yourself. It's honestly the best way to learn how to grow on Substack. See the people that are doing well, take what's working, leave what doesn't. That's how art works, and that's how newsletters work. Keep your newsletter valuable. What you don't want to do is just use it as a sales-only platform. Yes, I do bring up my Kickstarters in every post, including Big Smoke Pulp. That's launching in 2 weeks on November 19th on Kickstarter. You can find that at bit.ly/BSPV2. So that's a good example. I'm always bringing up Kickstarters and all that. However, that is not the only content of the post. It's not just a long ad that I refuse to pay for. It's part of the larger story. Today, we're talking about Substack and newsletters and how that can help you as a creator. It's not about, I have a Kickstarter, go support my Kickstarter. That doesn't mean you can't do launch emails, which I always do. And I use that as an opportunity to give people a little more insight into what happens behind a campaign. But you don't want to just be sales and just say, hey, 8 more days of my Kickstarter. Hey, 7 more days of my Kickstarter. You want to actually provide value and give them some insight into who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Something that would provide your readers some value for following it. So yes, Substack is key. Email is key. It doesn't have to be Substack. It could be whatever platform you're using for email. That is your number one driver for everything you're doing. However, I'm still on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all those places. And I use it all as a funnel to my email. If you see my shorts on Instagram or TikTok, I'm always driving folks to the Substack. So if you see my videos on YouTube, you can also find them on Substack. And I always make sure to mention that if you watch the videos on Substack, I also do a little bit of a secret epilogue, a little bonus for free for folks who decide to stick around and want a little more. One thing I'm trying to get better at is using threads to tease the newsletter content. I also post the shorts that I put on Instagram and TikTok as well. The whole point of all of my social media is to drive people to my newsletter, which drives them to whatever campaign I have going on. For all the compliments I've had for my comics and all the work I put out there, I've had the most compliments for my Substack. It's a great way to get your name out there more than anything if you're willing to be consistent. Every time I have a big fan that's going to support every campaign from when they jump on throughout, they always seem to be a part of the newsletter. You'll notice that in the comments as well, as a lot of the same names pop up. Speaking of which, do you have a newsletter? I'll subscribe to it. Throw it in the comments. Let me know what it is, and let me know any tips or tricks that you think I might be missing, as I'm always willing to learn and I'm always curious to find out more. And that's the key thing. It's not just about putting a newsletter out there and having a one-way conversation. You want it to be a two-way conversation. I'm always replying to comments as quickly as I possibly can. Quick caveat, as this is being posted, I'm somewhere in Italy having an espresso or at a football match or doing something nice, fun, and relaxing. So if I don't reply right away, please take no offense. I'll get back to it real soon. The whole point of this isn't just to sell. It's to build relationships. It's to create a community of people who enjoy your work. And the thing that brings everyone together is your work. That's the idea. Your newsletter is part of that tapestry. The fact that you come out and you share what's going on every week, the behind the scenes, the struggles you're having, the successes you've had that you can celebrate together. This is something that's going to bring you and your community together better than ever. They gave you their email for that purpose. They are seeing everything that you're putting out. Everything that you mean to send to them will hit them, unless their spam filter goes out of control or something like that. There's always exceptions. But the idea is email is the safest route between you and your readers. Everything else I'm on every social out there, but my Substack is key. If you want to learn everything about me, you're going to go to the Substack to find out. Find it very easily at bit.ly/pesto sub. I make it very easy for you to find it. It's free to sign up. You may get a usual Substack paywall thing. There are extras for paid subscribers. So if you are interested, please feel free to sign up. I always do a little bit extra every week for paid subscribers and share a lot more on there. And I keep it as cheap as Substack will allow me. And you can easily follow it by just providing your email and subscribing. If you're building your list, again, share it in the comments. Let people know where they can find you. Build that list. Be consistent. Post monthly to start if you must. That's 12 posts. It's not that much to ask. Launch on the 1st of every month or the first Wednesday or whatever date. But start now. Write 12 newsletters today. Sit down. Think of 12 topics. Write a year's worth of newsletter so that you have that in your back pocket and you're ready and your newsletter is ready to go. And now you just have to collect emails. It's not so daunting if you plan ahead for it. So I highly recommend doing it. Yes, Substack can go away tomorrow, but you have that email list. You can export it at any time and you can move it to whatever platform is the platform of the day. There's a lot of people who have done it. They've moved to Ghost and otherwise. But the key thing is the email list is your list. Any other subscriber list that you're getting from any other platform is owned by the platform. So keep that in mind, build your list, and reach the people who want to be reached. With that, I want to thank you for being here. We'll be back next Wednesday.